I just finished installing Anakin Skywalker's Episode 3 lightsaber with the Goth Redesigns Master Chassis. Let's check it out. As usual, this video is going to serve both as a showcase of the lightsaber and the install itself, as well as a guide for the future owner of this lightsaber, the one who commissioned this build from me in the first place. So without further ado, let's get right into it. This here is the chassis. It's designed by Goth Redesigns. It's the Master Chassis. My customer wanted it to be gold-plated brass, so all of the metal bits and pieces are gold-plated brass. It's really cool. It gives it a nice shine to it, and the contrast between the black plastic bits and the metal is really nice. Let's have a closer look at them. And as you can see, I have copper rods here. This serves as a wire pathway. More brass rods. Spinning motor piece. That's a real quartz crystal inside the crystal chamber. This section I like to call the plasma chamber just to give it a nice name. Then you've got your soundboard cover and a neopixel strip. So with the neopixels and the accents, I've got this accent strip down here. There are 4 pixels, and then I have a single pixel, a nano neopixel to light up the real quartz crystal, and then a strip of 3 neopixels to light up the plasma chamber. And then this is important, this top section I have wired in series with the blade. So you can set up the neopixel connector here, all the LEDs, you can set that up to do its own individual unique animations and such. I didn't go ahead and do that because I liked it mimicking the blade, but for everything else I have set up with their own neopixel accent sequence. I spent a lot of time going over those things, and I'll show you how it all looks. But in the config file, you'll see there are 5 separate blades, which is pretty cool. You've got this section and this section, which are tied in as sub-blades. So these count as 2 blades. The main blade is 1, so that's a 3rd. You've got the motor, which is actually a 4th blade, and then the 5th blade as the neopixel strip at the bottom. So I believe that about covers it. And as usual with most of my master chassis installs, I like to use black wires, which does make the install a little bit harder because I gotta label it as I go, but it ends with a cooler result because you can barely see it. It's a lot more hidden than if they were all colorful and whatnot. And I just think it looks a lot nicer. The soundboard is glued in with some E6000. No, it's actually Loctite is what I used, so it doesn't move anywhere. You can use a right angle micro USB to access the soundboard, and then you can remove the SD card with your fingers. The SD card is where all of your fonts are going to be located, as well as your config file. I put that on there, so you can use that to customize your board, so you know what's all set up on it. And then I also have a copy of the NE3 font that I added onto here. So it's got the NE3 font and the DV3, which come in one package from Kyberphonics. I put that on here so that you can put it on your computer in case it gets lost. But it's got all the extra features and options on there, like the extras folder, the quotes folder, etc. And on here I put the NE3 and DV3, just standard. So you have that to work with. And I believe that pretty much covers everything you need to know about this. So let's put a battery in. The negative goes towards the crystal chamber, the positive goes towards the speaker. You can also tell just because of the battery tabs. So we'll just throw it on in. Actually, I'm going to turn it off first and then throw it in. There we go. You got to figure out which side of the battery is easier to put in, because sometimes when you put it in rotated in one way, it's a little harder to put in, and then if you put it rotated a little bit, it's easier to put in. So just figure that out, and it's not too bad. And then to remove the battery, you just press on this open space here, and then it'll pop right out. So let's get started. So flip it on.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
You can see I have accent sequences set up here. So in the idle mode, I just have the strip pulsing blue towards the crystal while the crystal pulses at the bottom. I have it set up to be a kit scanner or whatever it was, but you can tell in the config file, but it's also the kit scanner option on the FET263 website, everything you need to know about customizing this in the Proffie and adding blade styles, etc. I'm going to put in the description of the video, so I'll put the manuals, the websites you'll need to go to, and whatever else. So if you have any questions about how to customize it, just head down to the description and it'll be right there. So those are all the idle animations. And then when you turn it on, you can see the motor rotating. Crystal is mimicking the blade. And then I have the plasma chamber pulsing towards the blade out of the crystal. And then here, you can kind of tell, but it starts in the middle and then it pulsates outward and then comes back in. So that's how it looks, but there's also an ignition and retraction animation for both sets of NeoPixel strips. So if I do that, that's a gesture control right there. You can twist it on and twist it off, but as you can see, the crystal is cooling down. So this is sort of a cool down effect. And the ignition, it shoots a white energy towards the blade, and then it goes back to the crystal, and then it starts doing its blue effect. So if you want to see that one more time, I'll show it to you. I'm actually going to reduce the sound because it might be a bit hard on the video. So let me show you how to reduce the sound super easy. Hold down the activation, tap the auxiliary. Oops. Okay, so you hold that, and there you go. Here in the volume menu. And then you can just rotate it to increase. Clockwise increase, counterclockwise is decrease, and then you can hear the beeps.
Exiting volume menu.
That's a little bit better. But let me show you the animation one more time. You can see the cooldown here. So it cools down, then it settles back into the main color. But when you turn it on, you'll see the white energy shoot towards the blade and then come back, and then it'll start pulsing. You'll see it a lot more in person because the colors really drown out in the camera. And then it's almost the same thing with this one, except I believe I have white going from the middle outwards. Oh no, I have white coming from here, and then it sort of flashes, and then it settles back into its blue pulsing. And then it retracts. So that's how all the accent pixels are set up. Took me a little bit to get each individual section exactly how I wanted, because whenever I set it up it felt a little off, so I feel like this is a lot cooler. Let me just cycle through all the fonts so you can see the crystal chamber in its different colors. This is the DV3 font. There you go. And then this here will mimic the blade color. So whatever font you're on, I have it set up so it's the same color as the main blade and the crystal. So before you saw it was blue. Green. And then that one is red and this one is green. So it's all going to mimic the main blade color, even though they're separate individual accent setups.
Purple.
So I have purple,
Yellow.
yellow,
White.
white,
Blue.
blue,
Red.
red.
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
This one is a sort of Jedi font. It's a New Hope style.
Yes. A Jedi's
And then we're leaning more into different font styles here.
Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred. Apology accepted. Smooth Jedi.
I want to show you the rainbow one because this one's pretty neat. I have the crystal and the plasma chamber just slowly rotating colors, so it'll change colors as you wait. It's now moving to purple, and then it'll move to orange and red. This is pink. there's orange. So it'll slowly change colors, and then when you activate it, it'll quickly change colors, as you can see. And then I also have the bottom section mimicking the same thing. So they're just changing colors.
Smooth teensy.
And this one's a battery level indicator. You'll be able to see it on the blade.
Anakin.
And now we're back to the beginning. So let me put this inside the lightsaber. The volume is very, very loud. So this is at about 50% volume. I think I even put it a little lower than 50%, and it's still really loud. So this is a very loud lightsaber. I believe it's using a Smuggler's Outpost speaker, but I could be wrong. Either way, it's an amazing speaker, and you can really be able to tell once it's in person, especially when it's in the hilt. It makes it a much more full sound. The only other thing I want to say about this chassis is due to the nature of this being metal and gold plated, you will get fingerprints on it, so you'll want to wipe it down every now and again. And don't worry about scratches and whatnot, because that is inevitable with handling and putting it in the lightsaber and taking it out. It will get scratched up over time or have some marks on it, but personally I don't think it takes away too much from the lightsaber. It just adds a lot of character to it, because it doesn't seem to ruin any kind of aesthetic. It's very nice, this type of metal, so that you don't have to worry about. I just wanted to mention all of that. So with the lightsaber, you just unscrew the grip section. This is also completely fingerprint magnet, so you'll want to wipe that down too. But for this lightsaber, you use the control box as the activation and auxiliary. It uses this plunger system that presses on the buttons in the chassis, and then this kit did come with 2 extra screws. They're sort of guide screws on the sides here. You'll be able to tell more in person, because black on black is hard to see. So that is what's going to help you align the chassis and keep it in place without any retention screws at all pressing into the chassis. So to put it in, you want to line up the control box with the flat section of the chassis. So when you look at the chassis, this section is the flat part. Everything else is rounded. This section is flat. You can see it more here, but this is flat. It goes all the way down, and then you'll rotate, and I'll just show you how it works. So you put the flat part against the control box section, slide it all the way in, and then you rotate it counterclockwise, and then it'll lock in, and then it won't pull out or push in because those guide screws are holding it all in place. And you can see this path right here in the chassis itself. So you put it in, twist it, and then you've got your chassis in the lightsaber. So you just put this on, screw it in, and then you're all set to go. And again, I have this on less than 50% volume right now because it is quite loud. So if it seems a little quiet right now, it's just to save your guys' ears. Now, to put in and take out the blade, super easy. You just unscrew the red button right here. Unscrew it a little bit, and then it'll slide right out. This serves as the retention screw. And this lightsaber takes a 7/8 inch blade, which I really like 7/8 inch blades because they're super light and they look really cool. So you just push it in all the way. I like to hold it against the bottom, just flat. Add some pressure and then screw it in. And then there you go. Got the blade with the localized effects, all the different standard effects of the Proffie board. So it's got tip drag, it's got localized clash and lockup. All those crazy effects. So I guess I'll just show it off a little bit more by scrolling through the different fonts. Let me just zoom out a little bit here so you can see it a bit better. And I'll just cycle through all the different fonts real quick.
Green. Purple. Yellow. White. Blue.
Jedi. Ah, yes. Jedi's weapon. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred.
And this is a sort of emitter cooldown effect.
Apology accepted.
This is a flame blade, which will adjust to the angle of your lightsaber as well. So when you tilt it in certain ways, it'll adjust.
Smooth Jedi. Smooth foe.
This is the rainbow blade, sort of a rainbow fire blade.
Smooth gray. Teensy.
This one's a lava lamp effect, which is really neat. And here is your battery level indicator. When it's up here, it'll be green, and then it'll change colors all the way down to red at the bottom, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But at the top, it's fully charged, bottom not fully charged. And that
Anakin.
is pretty much everything you need to know about this lightsaber. There's quite a lot of control elements that you'll want to know. I don't know all of them, but they will be in the description of the video. You can check out Fet263's website, go to his button config, which is what this is using, and it'll show you all the different button controls. I have this set up with basically everything you need. It's got the edit mode, it's got the volume select, it's got a lot of things, so just feel free to check that out in the config file, as well as the Fet263 website, which will really be your main go-to guide for everything Proffie related. So now I'll just take this lightsaber out, we'll have a good look at the chassis once more, and then I guess we'll call it a day for this video. I will say, if this ever gets loose, or if the buttons ever seem a little wonky, just pull up this card. It's just a sticker, basically. You put your nail underneath this edge, pull it up, and then you'll see some screws. Unscrew the screws, then you can just tighten the plungers or tighten the screws in there. But I have them all as tight as they can be, so you shouldn't have to do that. But in case you do, that's how you do it. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to let me know. This was a super cool build. I love using the gold-plated brass pieces, and I also really like that it's not weathered, because this is one of the only master chassis. I think this is the only master chassis I've made where I didn't have to weather the parts, and it's really cool to see the clean chassis aspect. So, also don't worry about all these all the soldered joints. Don't worry about them touching this or causing any shorts, because I made sure, this is why I glued down the soundboard, I made sure that all of the points, all the solder joints and whatever else are as low as I could get them, and that the board was as low as it can go, and I made sure that nothing was touching. Because on the Ray Master chassis I've made with the Crystal Focus soundboard, it's a little bit bigger, so I make sure to put an insulated tape on it to prevent that from happening. But with this one, you don't have to, which is really nice, because then it looks way nicer. But in any case, I hope you like the lightsaber, and let's get back to looking at my face, I guess. And that concludes the showcase and guide video for the Knight AS3 Master Chassis. I hope you all liked checking out the lightsaber. It was a really cool build, like I mentioned before, and thank you, Harry, for trusting me in building this lightsaber. I did as best as I could, and I tried to make it as cool as possible with addressing all the accent pixels, adding as much as I could in here, and I hope you like it. So I'll be sending this off to you soon, and once again, thank you all for watching, and look forward to all the cool projects I have coming up.